Hey everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, the harvested larch might find a home in the Larch Forest. Before we dig into our harvested trees to see if they'll go into the tamarack forest, we have to do the Bonsai Shuffle. Radar indicates a line of snow / maybe turning into rain coming our way, and the estimated time for rain in my area is about 3 p.m. It's a little after 11 o'clock, so I figure I have about a good 2 to 3 hour window to get all my work done today. The Bonsai Shuffle, of course, is definitely important because the lows at night would be about mid-30s and the highs in the upper 40s, so I could leave everything out for the next couple of nights. But I want to be particularly careful with the ones I've just repotted this weekend. Radar later on today shows the snow turning into rain when it gets to my dot on the map. Let's hope I get all my work done. There you go. The Bonsai Shuffle has been complete. Now to work on the larches. So, I gotta get set up. I don't think I'm gonna work in my Sunday best. Okay, jeans and a flannel, but we're gonna get more comfortable. You know what? The sun now today is under the clouds, and even though it's in the low 40s, a marked difference without that sun out. So, I think I'm gonna go change, get into something a little more bonsai comfortable, and we'll tackle these larch. I've got my tools, I've got my soil, I've got the trees. I got a fresh pair of gloves that aren't stiff from being cold. They're just stiff from being brand new. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trees. 5 plus 1 would make 6, which is an even amount. We typically want an odd amount. I also have a tree. This one's the thickest one. I might consider keeping that one for a bonsai pot, or this one with the twin trunk. So this is a really cool twin trunk, and this one's really doing well. This one's been struggling. Got some depth on this side, but a branch over here that's alive, and some branches up top that are alive. So if I clean off some of this lichen and hope that other buds might grow, this could be a real fun tree in a pot. So I think I'm going to keep this one. Maybe I'll see how the roots are in the big one. We're going to keep this one for later into a solo pot. Now it does have a twin trunk, so my 5 plus this one makes 6, but that's a twin. That could be 7. I could put them all here and they'd be fine. But we don't know. Oh, there's also the one that I repotted yesterday for temporarily. Hey, let's go back to that footage and check that out. I peeked at this earlier to see how the roots were looking. Let's go look at that footage while I go grab the tree. A couple of years ago, I harvested some larch, and this is the first time I'm going to look at the roots and see if we can transplant some of the larch. My larch forest died, so I'm hoping to put my harvested larch, a couple of them anyway, into my larch forest, see if we can get that forest to thrive. Now, I haven't looked at these since the harvest, so while that's thawing out, and we finished that job, let's go ahead and see what we got in here. So I know we have a lot of sphagnum moss. These were grown, remember, in the bogs up north, and so they're in a sphagnum moss system, so they're used to that. And some of those roots might just be on the top here. So we're going to look at the root system and see what we got here. The drainage screen, we got some sphagnum moss in here. We'll save all those, all that lava rock for next growth of a tree. Where these roots are actually going to be, and look at that. So we've got some at the bottom here, but look at this is where all the roots took off with the sphagnum moss higher up on the tree. Right down here. So, you know, we had that one's dead. We had 2 or 3 good roots down there. I hope I didn't cut too much off. So now we've got the roots here. So we're going to tease out some of this sphagnum moss. We want to get this in a good bonsai soil and hope it continues to grow. There we go. So we have a few roots in there. We've got 5, 6, 7 roots that are trying to hang on right there. I think these two up here are dead. Alright, try to see if I can cut any more off without creating more damage. Now I'm going to go take a peek at my Minnesota forest and see if this is shallow enough to plant in that planter. So let me check that out. So my one larch is alive over here, and if I were to put this at the soil here, down low, we could get soil up to here, and it would be just fine. We could plant this in this box. It's good to see some live roots. There's not a ton, and I did cut off a few roots at the bottom section, but there were roots here and roots about 6 inches away. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put this into that box right now. Since I have it out and I have a spot for it, I think I'll see if I can just put it in there to protect the roots for now. Otherwise, I could put them in a temporary pot for tonight and until I'm ready for tomorrow. And I could do that with some recycled soil and sphagnum moss. So I think I'll do that. I'll lay this in this pot right here. So I will go ahead and dunk this in the pond. We'll put this low so the wind doesn't blow at this today. We'll keep it out of the wind, and we'll put this in the big pot tomorrow. So we're going to prep all these trees to go in there tomorrow. Actually, what I'll probably do is get the pot ready with some new wires and new drainage screens, and then when I unearth all of these other 2-year harvested trees, we'll probably see similar root structure, and we should be able to get many of them into that pot. We'll make it work. So I'm going to go get this into some protection, and we'll check out those taxes and see if we can finish today's work. There's the one we did yesterday. We've got all the rocks here to keep these up, right? And love and life. We've got the soil. We've got the baseline in here. As you saw, we put that in yesterday as well. And it's time to do a little digging. So I know what this root structure looks like. We're going to get that one in here. I'm really curious about this next one here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get rid of all the stuff in this one. And then we'll see what the roots look like. So I'm going to get a bin to put all my stuff in. And so we don't get all the dirt and stuff in here, and then we'll work on this first one. There's sphagnum moss up on top, which means there's probably some roots on top. And then we have the lava rock. Some drainage screens and a box for later use. And now we get to dig in and see what this one has to offer us. This one has kind of a fun curly trunk here. We've reached a stopping point with tree number 1. There's a little bit too much pumice and lava rock down here that's frozen. So we're going to put this in a little bit of water and let this de-thaw, or it's going to thaw out, right? Defrost. Now, the tamarack up in the bogs are in solid water most of the year, so I'm not afraid of getting this thing too full of water to clean this system out. They just love water. So we're going to get in some good soil and we'll take care of it. I'm going to get one of the other ones out of the tree while this one sits in a little bit of water as we get ready. We got a lot of sphagnum moss intermixed with the lava rock here, trying to get to some of the roots that are, we hope, viable for this repot. And what I might find out from these trees is that the roots are too high up in the tree to really cut off the right spot to put this in this particular planter. Because see, there's the bottom of the structure right there, but the roots are higher than that. And sometimes if they're too high, they're not going to fit in this really shallow pot right here. So we might have to put some of these trees into a bigger pot for a couple of growing seasons before we could get them into a forest type setting like this. So that's what I'm here to find out today. If I can get one or two of these trees in there, that would be fantastic. If I have to hold off with most of them or some of them, that's fine too. I've got other pots that I will put them in and see if we can get a new tamarack tree in the works. So as you can see from the structure of this root system, there's roots from way up here all the way down to here. And so we have to decipher if I can cut some of those away and not hurt the tree too much before we go ahead and put it in a pot. Okay, so when I cut those leaves, those roots off, I'm going to come down here and look at the base of the tree. And I've got a root right there at the base, so I really can't cut this tree any shorter unless there's roots at the top that I like better. If there's more of a radial root pattern that I might like a little bit better. And there's nice, there's a root coming off this way, a root coming off this way. There's one I just untangled that's down there as well. So we've got this great big root ray up there, but that one would have to be just cut off here. So by cutting these higher roots off, we're going to have a lower tree. The question is will I have enough roots to support the tree this season in this shallow planting? And it looks like I can cover up most of these roots just fine. I have a root soil that's up to about here, a little bit lower than these right here, so I can make mounds and make this work. All right, so that one can go in. And the one we transplanted yesterday could go in. So we know we have two that we can put in. So if this is a big tall one up here and I have this one back here, we've got a threesome over here on this side of the planting. For right now, I'm going to take away this big rock we had in there. We might be able to decorate a little bit later. So as I come back out here and take a look at that, that's not a bad spot for that tree. We want to see if we can fit this tree maybe up in front. This tree has more sparsity to it. Maybe it goes back in the corner back over here. And I don't care if there's death up here. We just want to get this into the tree forest here and see what we can do with some back budding in this tree up here. And this could be one in the back. There. So now we have this old looking part of the forest. This tree is definitely newer looking. This has more lichen on it and stuff. We can clean some of that off. But we've got to start. So my next tree of interest for me is the one over here. So let's get this one ready to put into the pot. See what it's looking like. As I tease out the rest of the root, sphagnum moss and root structure here of this third tree, I have to make a correction. So when I was with Peter T. and the Fundamentals Workshop last weekend with Minnesota Bonsai Society, he said something during the workshop that made my ears perk up and say, oh my gosh, I did it again. Because I don't like to do this on my channel here. And I try to avoid it at all costs. But sometimes I just can't avoid it, and it happens. And so here's the correction that I made. You've noticed today that all of these have been planted in lava rock. Typically, with a lot of recovered Yamadori, people are putting most of their trees in 100% pumice. Now, I put them in lava rock because at the time of our harvest, I only had lava rock left and very little pumice. And so I used what I had. But what I've been telling everybody for the last couple years on my channel, and what we've actually been telling some of our Minnesota Bonsai Society members, based on the knowledge that I had from other people, somewhere I got the notion that lava rock was going to be less water retaining than pumice. I thought pumice was a more moist soil, held the moisture more, and the akadama created more airy. So I was corrected at the workshop, and actually lava rock holds the most moisture, and pumice, it's going to be less water retaining. And then your akadama carries the most water. So the way the granules are, when you look at them up close, the lava rock has all kinds of pores. So I'm assuming that captures a lot of water then in those pores. I thought it held more of the aeration. And there's more edges on the lava rock. Pumice rock stone is a little bit more smooth than the coarseness of lava rock. So I was corrected. Now, Peter T. wasn't talking directly to me when he said that, but I had to laugh to myself because he said, he said, regardless of what you might hear, some people might be telling you, yeah, I was one of those people. So my apologies to those of you that affected your bonsai in any way, shape, or form. I guess the lesson to be learned with any soil type is people can use almost anything for soil. People are using, people have used kitty litter before. People have joked you can grow a bonsai tree in marbles. Obviously, those aren't going to be the best things for your trees. Whatever you use, whether you use some kind of crushed granite, whether you're using some kind of perlite combination with some of that sand grit, that quick dry stuff that I forget the name of it. People also use the stuff that they put on baseball fields, turfus. So you can use a lot of different things for your bonsai. The key to know is what species of tree you have and how much water it needs. And if you don't have the perfect soil, well, you just have to water more. If you have the better soil, like if I put 100% akadama in these larches, they would love life because they'd be full of water all the time. If I put 100% pumice in here, as I'm finding out, they'd be drier more. And notice how thin this pot is. Very wide, but very shallow, only a couple inches deep. It's going to dry out much faster than the pots they came from. So I'll have to watch my watering severely in the future with these trees. So let's get the gist here. Let's summarize. Akadama holds the most water, and then lava rock, and then pumice of those three materials. So I stand corrected, and I hope that in the future you will not be too upset with me about my mistake there. So now I have a lot of roots on this guy compared to the other trees. Super nice to see. However, I'm a little bit doubtful that this guy is going to sit in this planting right here. And here's why. If we put this thing in the planting here, look at how high the roots go. Although we could have a big mound of dirt up to here, and we could plant it here, and the roots could grow down. So it's possible. Let's see how many roots. And the reason I'm nervous is we got some real thick roots up top here, but we also have some roots at the bottom. But if I do cut off this bottom section here, that could lower it just a little bit more. I think we'll do that. That'll lower it about 1 inch. So let's see if I can get my chopper tool out here. See if I can muscle through the bottom of this, and we'll gain another 1 inch here. All right. So there we go. Ooh, that looks really nice and healthy in there. Oh, can I count the rings? So if you have not collected a larch up from northern Minnesota, apparently the rule of thumb is with larch that if it's about 1 inch in diameter, if it's about 1 inch in diameter, it's about 30, 35 years old. They grow so slow up there, and the rings are so tight together, and you have a tree that's pretty old, even if it only looks like it's about 5 years old or less. Okay, so time to get a little more sphagnum moss out of here. So I have to make some more decisions here. We do have a nice flare at the base here now. You see that nice flare down there? And that's all from here down. So there's a couple of these high roots I might be able to just snip out. So let's go ahead. We'll snip off some of these high roots. Like this one right here. Tangling with my other tree. So we lost some roots there, for sure. I have another root here that there's 2 of them on top of each other here, so I'm going to get rid of these 2 right there. Clean that wound up a little bit. And then we have 3 more high ones. But am I getting rid of too many roots here? Now I've got a root down here, a root right here, and a couple of roots right here. I think I have enough roots that I can go ahead and get rid of 1 more. Maybe 2 more bulky roots here. Nope, that is the root that looked like it was going down low, so we can't cut any more off. We're going to leave that there. So that root started here, and it bent down here and went over that way. You can see this one's doing the same thing. It's almost got a weird elbow. So we're going to leave the rest of the roots on this tree as it is. I don't think I can cut it down anymore height-wise. So now let's take another look at this tree in the forest. It's a fun tree up top. It's got a lot of stuff going on up there. And we can put that right up in here. And we can trim some roots and make this kind of work right there. All right. Yeah, we'll fix that slant there. So with the nice calm day we have today, I don't have to worry about my trees falling over without the rocks in there. All right. Now I don't want the forest to have 18 different angles of where the trees fall or show off. See if I can twist this a little bit more this way. Shows a little bit more wide of a base. Shows this branch over here more. All right, that looks pretty good. These 2 are kind of leaning this way. This one I can tilt over just a little bit, move some rocks and get that going that way too. And we have our 3 trees in the forest there and 1 over there. Okay. All right. So we have our twin trunk that I think I'm going to put in its own pot. And I have this one that's the thickest of my trees. This one's definitely 1 inch thick, could be a 30-plus-year-old tree. And we have the one that's sitting in the water. Let's see if we could get some more of these the soil off of this tree here. See what we see for this one. We're definitely seeing more root structure here, but we still have a little bit more of those rocks in there that are clinging on. So I think we need this to soak a little bit longer. We got some sphagnum moss that's even frozen on there. I'm going to go some pumice on the bottom of this one. All right, so we'll let that sit in the water a little bit more. That one is definitely small enough to go in here. But if we put that one in here and another one, that's 6, and I'd have 3 clumps of 3. If I put one more tree in, I have 5, and then if I have some other smaller trees for up front, I could always add some other tree varieties. But I like this larch forest to be all larch. This will be real pretty in the fall time. So why don't we go ahead and just see how big this one is and what's we got going on? Because if we don't put it in this forest, we'll be putting it in a different pot today. Continue to get away the rest of the lava rock and some of the sphagnum moss that still was this low down into the tree. We have another good example of all of the roots. We got a big root here, a couple of them, some small roots here, but a big root here, a couple roots here. All of those are on this part of the tree. So if I cut all of these off right here, they're all going to disappear and I'll be left with a stump down here. Look at how much I can grab the bottom of this tree. So we're going to go ahead and cut that off down there, like we did with the last one, because there's very few roots on that bottom section. I don't know that I will be able to get I don't think this will be strong enough to cut that. We're going to saw that one off right here. So let me show you the bottom of that root. We had a tuft of roots right here. This little tiny tuft right there and nothing else there. We lost 4 inches right there, which makes this tree potentially potable in this forest, but I think it's too tall. These other extra roots here are just a little bit too big. So if I go ahead and make a couple of vertical cuts, can these all get this big one way out here? Don't know that we need that big one. So now we got it down to a stub with a leg here. So again, in our current forest, this could be the big main tree if we think we can support the root growth way up high like that. That is a really nice looking tree. Now my question is do I use it for the front of this forest and leave it at 5 like we had before, or do I put that in its own pot, being that it's such a nice big interesting tree? And I've got the small one in there that's getting thawed out, and I got the twin trunk right here. I think we need to put this one in a deeper pot and let this thing develop into something a little more special. It makes a really good tree in this forest, though. It's really big, and it's definitely like this leader tree. I do like the composition. I just worry about the pot being too shallow and not being able to support that big of a mound. But it's certainly possible. Yeah, that is a lovely tree. It makes a really pretty looking forest.